Hello, welcome to CTE, and this is a Making Shots Easy Part 2. So what I'm showing here in this clip is basically showing you there's the middle of the cue ball. On the left side is your pivot point. On the right side it could be your pivot point, just like that. So when I'm aiming, I'm usually aiming at aiming at the half a tip offset and then going to center like that. Depending on the angle to the pocket, the object ball is broken up to three areas. It's 15, 30, and 45 degrees. So if this 10 ball is there, it looks like a basic middle shot, so it could be A or B, which basically is 15 or 30 degrees. So I'm lining up from the half a tip in the middle of that object ball and then hitting it center cue ball. Almost all the shots are like that. I am using a little bit of traditional stuff, so here's a traditional shot on the 1/8, which is almost at the edge of the object ball. Nice tough shot. But I'm aiming at the one ball using a visual, and I'll explain that to you as we go along. This shot is going into the corner, so what I'm doing is aiming it from, I'm visualizing from the half of cue ball to the right side of the object ball, and then bringing my cue over to probably the C area. Same thing here, I'm visualizing it. That's a 1/8 going into the side. It looks like a bank. And this is also a very deep cut. These are very deep cuts, so if it's very deep cut like this, it's almost parallel. You have to go with a 1/8, which is almost on the edge of the ball. It's just between the edge and let's say that if there's a stripe there, it would be between the edge and the stripe. So here we go with the object ball going to the corner. So I'm aiming, I'm visualizing from the right side of that ball, and then bringing my stick over from the pivot, half a tip pivot to center. It was right into the corner. Same shot. So I visualize, I'm standing behind the cue ball, left leg behind, my thumb and four fingers behind the cue ball. I'm visualizing the half a cue ball into the right side of the object ball, and then bringing my stick over to center cue. Boom. Yeah, fill in. All right, same thing here. Since you're in position, you really don't have to do much in terms of the pivot, although the pivot's there. It's going into the side, but you can show how difficult some of these shots can be. And with CT, it's relatively easy. You could just kind of like drift it in. Because you're in position, it's almost like automatic. Once you get the hang of it, it's really not that difficult. Now I'm aiming, again, I'm looking at the visual from the middle of the cue ball to the right side of the object ball, to that side, and then moving my stick over from the left to right. And just like I said, you're almost in position, but this is probably 45-degree cut, so you're looking at a C. And it goes right in. Those kind of difficult shots can be made relatively easy if you get it, once you get familiar with the concept. So this is going to the right side. So I'm visualizing half a cue ball to the right side of the 2, bringing my stick over from left to right. So what I do is I line up at a half a tip offset, aiming at that spot, coming in, and I bring the cue over. Almost, it's like automatic. You're in position, so you just got to do, bring it up to center, and you're in. Now the next shot's the same shot on the reverse. So right now, my left leg is behind the cue ball, my thumb and four fingers behind the cue ball, about 5 to 7 inches away. I set my cue down. I'm almost in position. I'm visualizing from the left side, right there, from the left side of the object ball, and that's a visual. And then I'm moving my stick over from left side of the cue ball. That's a half a tip left side of the center cue ball, and then moving over to center. So watch from the left side, and then pivot. There's the pivot. Here's the 8 ball going into the corner. Same scenario. I'm visualizing it right where the left side is on the 8, right there. And then I bring my stick over from left to right. So I'm pivoting it from the left side to center cue ball. Here's the opposite of the same cut. So, same shot, going into the corner. I'm visualizing it right there. So that's my visual. I'm moving over from a half a tip offset on the right side. Watch the pivot. There you go. Here's a basic easy shot. You don't even need CTE for this, but just again show you. So I'm aiming for that spot. I mean, my visual is basically that spot, and I'm just pivoting over. The next shot is again. This is kind of a basic shot, but it shows you the concept. So my visual is on the right side of the right there on the right side of the one. That's a visual from the center of the cue ball. I take my stick from the right side, half tip offset on the right side, and I'm moving it over. You can see the pivot. There you go. And that's pretty much most of the shots are like that. If you get into the traditional version of it, the other way is that you kind of measure whether it be an A, B, or C, depending on the cut of the pocket. And if you can figure out the angle, then you're just as good as this stuff. Traditional is a little bit more, you're almost set up for it, so you really don't have to do that. In fact, you probably don't even have to worry about too much on the ABC side. You're almost set up for it. You don't see the cue ball, but basically it's kind of a basic shot. So, but you know, if you get the concept on this after a bunch of trials, you'll understand it, and you start making shots relatively easy. I usually use ghost ball, but if there's a hot shot, you have to go with the CT. It's definitely more consistent, and I definitely trust it for sure. And I think you will too.